Hey everyone, so I finished my work for the day and I'm continuing to work on my talks. I'm still reading this book. I do a little bit at a time, but this is Pope Francis, The Future of Faith, and I got this from my parish. I'm not sure, but sometimes Father Larry gives books away after he reads them, so if I'm lucky and I happen to be there, I get a good book to read. And this chapter was on Pope Francis' address to the Italian Council of Orders of Journalists, 400 journalists in Clementine Hall in the Vatican, September 22nd, 2016. And so he's sharing his thoughts on the profession of journalism. I think these are very good points that he makes. And especially for me, I admire journalists, especially if they try to be impartial and deliver the news without putting their own point of view on it. And because WITS, my university in South Africa, have been part of the symposium that has been investigative journalists into money laundering, I take a special interest in it. So I was quite touched to see this chapter that he wrote. And he focused on three elements: the love of truth for everyone, but especially for journalists, living professionally, affirming it and bearing witness to it through one's work. And then living professionally, he said, the second element means above all what we find written in understanding and internalizing the deeper meaning of our work. Because the journalists are the ones that help society, and any dictatorships or any orientation or color that comes into society is obviously not good. So he talks about that and how journalism gives us food for thought. And it's important for social dimension and true citizenship in any country, because life is not black and white. There are gray areas in life always. And in journalism, they have to be able to discern between shades of gray and the reality of what people are dealing with on the ground. And the last thing he talks about is respect for dignity. And respect for dignity is not just about saying, oh, we have dignity. It's about emotions. It's about understanding situations that people are dealing with. And it's about our lives. Because whatever is reported affects our lives, and how it's reported affects our lives. So it was very touching to read on that. He spoke of the gossip of terrorism being capable of killing a person through language. And that's very true, because the language determines how things are interpreted, what is said and what happens. And I really enjoyed reading it. It's a small chapter, only 3 pages, but it was nice to read it. And I thought about our own journalists in Canada and across the world, especially those journalists who put their lives at risk to investigate banking and the money laundering, because I worked on those projects. I worked on those projects at HSBC, at BMO, at RBC. I worked on that and closing the regulatory gaps and helping the bank to meet the standards that the regulators want. And it's hard work. It's not easy work. But everybody is trying to work together. Unfortunately, sometimes that backfires, especially in the case of women, like the police that got harassed, the women police that got harassed in Vancouver. Even in my own case, when the police came here, when I was falsely reported missing, they told me, they said this type of thing is common and people don't want to confirm it. And so women like you have their lives destroyed. And I was shocked to hear that it takes place in the police force, but it does. Some of the people that are connected to me on LinkedIn, some women have gone on to become police. So I guess it happens all over, and it's very hard when your reputation is spoiled for you to get that back. Even when I worked at HSBC, They're saying, oh, he likes her, my manager. I don't know what this world has come to where you can't work with somebody and have a collegial working relationship and people blow it out of proportion. But anyway, I guess that's how it goes. But those concepts can be taken and applied to any of our professions, in what we do, in how we uphold our values in society. And we work in the interest of the public as HR professionals. We always have that in mind in what we do, and we self-regulate. We are supposed to, anyway, self-regulate. So it's an interesting concept. For me, things are very hard. I don't know if I'll be renewing my HRPA membership next year, because I have not gotten a good paying job, and I have been trying and trying and trying, and I haven't been able to get it. I use my HR in my field like I use it in my work. I've used it on the Sprint campaign when I was dealing with health and safety for the truckers. I've used it in my other campaigns at Teleperformance, so I do use it. But the memberships are very, very expensive, and the annual dues that you have to pay. So when you're doing it on your own, it's very costly. But anyway, I guess it's something that everyone has to think about, how we're spending our money, what we want to do. And it does give you a certain credibility. The same way when I was putting my case forward to the police, I was copying Justin Trudeau on those emails because at the time I was his volunteer and he needed to know about what was happening to me. So I'm glad to see it's a bit too late, but he's now said it's unacceptable for the women police to go through what they're going through in Vancouver. I got no such apology, I got no such interest, nothing. So we'll see how it goes. The same thing with trying to get money, because living off your debt for 22 years, it's not easy. It takes a toll on you. And I'm still applying for other better paying jobs. I hope I get it. And if I get an opportunity to go back to England, of course I'm going to go. I'm not going to stay in Canada. It's been a long, hard struggle, and people here get jobs because of who you know, because somebody's recommending you or somebody's saying, hey, I know this person, she'll be good with you as an executive assistant. That's how it works. And nobody's done that for me, so I'm stuck. And they say, oh, just pray, just pray. Yes, you can just pray, but we also have to help ourselves. That's why I studied. That's why I got an education. That's why I did all the things that I did, because I wanted a better paying job. And I didn't want to be in the situation that I'm in. And things are very, very hard for me. I worked very, very hard to get my education, to be qualified, to even taking those short-term projects. They expected me to come in and hit the ground running. I had maybe 1 day of training. So it's not easy to do that. But I persevere, I carry on. And after 5 years on the job, at the end of the day, my ears ache, my throat aches, and they know it's not just me that it happens to, because most people stay a year or two and then they move on. They get a break. But I guess, and I hope, and I pray that things change for me and that I get a good paying job, because that's what I want. I want my hard work to translate into financial rewards, because I do deserve it, and I deserve better than what has been done to me in Canada. So even the police asked me, they said, why don't you go to England? I said, if I get an opportunity to go, I'll go. I won't stay here. Why should I stay where people make fun of me and laugh at me and say, oh, look at her with all her degrees. It's easy to put people down, but you don't know my journey. You don't know how long I studied, how hard it was, the sacrifices I made. Not only for me, even to bring my mother to Canada. I had support from my brother and sister, but I paid for that application for her to come. It's always been very, very hard financially. But I give thanks for my blessings. I give thanks for the people I've helped. And who knows, maybe I won't be working with the Americans very much longer. But I've helped a lot of people, and they always say, thank you, you helped me. Which is very different from when I had those stupid calls coming through, being sworn at, shouted at, and all the vulgar language, everything that they did to me. It was awful. Very, very awful. But anyway, what goes around comes around. That's all I can say. And my life was wasted. I can say that with assurance. Because if you can put so many years in and keep doing good and you don't get the financial rewards, that's not a good way to live. All of us study and go to university or take a trade or go to secretarial school or become plumbers or go into construction because we want to get the financial rewards to live here on this earth. We don't want to be landed up living in tents or they put up these shelters now where people can go in. They have a temporary makeshift bed and they can plug in their utensils and live there. We don't want to end up like that. That's why we study. And that's why we educate ourselves and we make sacrifices. Nobody helped me to get my John Maxwell. I did it on my own. I called Cindy and I said, Cindy, I can't afford it. I don't think I'll continue. And she said, we'll bring your payments right down to $99 a month. She said, finish the program. So I did it over 3 years, just like I did my master's over 7 years. I persevered and I did it. And I graduated. I was sitting here on my own watching, and they said, now you are a certified Maxwell speaker, coach, and trainer for all of us. And I cried because it was hard for me. Not one person was there for me. And all these stupid calls that came through and all these people being hard on me for what? Why don't you get a life and focus on your own life and your own journey instead of coming down on me? Just because I had loving relationships with the managers I supported, or just because I was nice to them, you want to make 2 and 2 into 100,002. That's why I don't like it here. Because when I worked in England, they loved me. Even the law firm, they said to me, Belinda, we're surprised. You're going to England? Mason Solicitors. They said, you're leaving England? You're going to Canada? I said, well, I can't get a visa. They won't let me stay. And if I don't leave, they're going to come and deport me. They're going to come and take me and put me on the plane and send me back to Zimbabwe. And all the managers there said to me, we hope you come back to England. And my friend Rose Barreto, and my cousins Maggie and Sharon, and all of them, they said, we hope you come back to England. So I want to go. Because here, people don't do that. They say, please go. Do whatever you want. We're doing our own thing. And I'm left out of the family gatherings. I'm left out of birthdays and parties, and if nobody thinks of me. So if I get that opportunity to go back to England, I want to take it and I want to go. Because I will be successful. Whether I'm here or in England or another part of the world, I'll be successful. If I could go through all this nonsense and all the horrible calls that I had, which were deliberately coordinated, and if I could come through that, it was like going through a crucifixion. It was like going through a flogging mentally. Because even in South Africa and Zimbabwe, even if people were derogatory to us, you were not going through it for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And over a small thing like a package not arriving, it really used to get to me. And being called niggers. They used to call me on the phone. They say, you niggers don't know what you're doing. And I used to tell them, please don't speak to me like that. They said, yeah, we can hear your accent. You're from India or you're from Africa. And I said, I'm doing a job for you. So I've never been treated so horribly as by the Americans. It was really something to go through. But I'm hoping and praying I get a breakthrough and I get a good permanent job, because I deserve better. I deserve better. I've worked very, very hard. And all these concepts that I read about Pope Francis's messages and all that, I don't just read it and then say, oh yeah, that's the way it is. I take it and I try to do it in my work. And I don't know why Regis College didn't arrange some work for me to help them there. I don't know why I can't get work in the church. But whatever it is that I do, I know that when I leave there, the managers will cry, because every opportunity I've had, whether it's been at Toronto Western Hospital, at Hugerson Consulting, at RBC, at TD, at BMO, when I left, there was silence and the managers cried, even at HSBC. And I wasn't earning the minimum wage I'm earning now. I was earning $40 an hour and more, with including my vacation pay. So if I could do it then, I can certainly do it in a permanent job. And when people leave Teleperformance, they leave because it's stressful. Our jobs are very stressful. And they find other opportunities that are less stressful and that pay them better, and then they leave. And the model is built on that. They don't want people to come and stay. They want people to come for a year or two and then leave and get other opportunities and take that experience and use it in other roles. That's the model, and even our CEO has said that. He said that's our model. We don't expect people. We are hiring people in transition, people who can't get other jobs, people who have disabilities, people who really need something, just something to get. So, and that's the same reason I took it, because I could not get anything else. And so if that opportunity is not here, if it's in England, I would love to go back. I'd go back in a heartbeat. I wouldn't stay here. For what?